welcome to the official Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name's Nikki, bringing you the best in comic...
Oi, turn that off and listen to me. We got a new book out. Book by them people called Pete Taylor and Mark Hughes. What's it about? Well, it's about me, Silverbeard. The Seven Sagas of Silverbeard, to be exact. It's all about me and my stories. And that's why you want it. I'm an ape, you see. A bloody big ape. And all the chronicles of my life were lost. But now you can hear them again. Read them at silverbeard.co.uk, where you can throw gold and get my book. Go look now. Back to these Muppets. Hello and welcome to the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast, episode 57. My name's Ian.
Mm-hmm.
We've just been attacked and taken over by a
very northern monkey.
He's an ape. Do you not know the difference?
Yeah, I was thinking more the person saying it was a bit of a monkey.
What do you mean? I don't know. It's actual and real.
It's real. I didn't realise he was from Yorkshire.
Piss off.
I'd have thought a Devonshire accent would have been better but no, it was very northern. And it seemed to be a bit... Did he have chips in his hand at the time? Because there was a lot of seagulls.
Well, he's out on the sea and stuff,
isn't he?
he?
With chips.
I don't know. It's not me, so it's
it's not
doing
you.
me.
It's not you. You sure it's not you? He did say ape.
Anyway, let's move on from that. Let's.
All you can do is move on from that.
This episode. On this episode, we are going to talk all about MCM Manchester. That was awful.
Manchester.
Mad for it, man. Mad for it. We've got interviews from the event with Joe Glass, Dan Whitehead, Steve Penfold, and Tom Sparke, or Tom Sparkle, as I call him.
I like to call him Tom Sparkle now. He should be ever known as Tom Sparkly Sparkle.
Mike looks at Aliens vs. Blade Runner and reviews the latest comics where their worlds collide. Tom reviews Peace of Mind number 1 by Emiliano, Correa, and Rob Jones. And Pete chats to Mark Hughes about a certain comic called The Seven Sagas of Silverbeard.
I've never heard of that one.
Don't know what that is.
No, I don't know what that's about. What do you think it's about?
I think it's... Oh, sugar. Right, so let's quickly talk about that. Because I think that has to be a priority. Because Pete's put a bit of effort into the podcast, so we should give him a bit of effort.
Rocks
back
up,
and all
doesn't he?
that.
And chats stuff. I mean, anyone think he actually plans it and does actual work.
So Pete and Mark, they've put together the Seven Sagas of Silverbeard. Now we can sit here because it's Pete and say it's a good comic, but I'm going to say this completely separate. This is so original.
It's brilliant. Yes.
So the comic originally came out back in the day.
Yes.
But did it? Does anyone remember it?
Everyone remembers it, but they don't remember holding it.
So this is stories redone of from the golden age of Silverbeard. And it also tells you within the comic bits about the characters and so forth that were in this world from comics back in the past. And it's just great fun.
It's a fantastic idea.
The little toy page he's got on there from the past and so forth.
From the past,
yes. From the past.
That you might remember.
You might, or maybe not. It's one of them things, it's just one of those.
Just,
Yeah.
Did it happen? Did it not happen?
So check it out. Silverbeard.co.uk will take you to the Kickstarter page where you can throw your pennies.
Yes.
And grab this original, and I'm going to say that original piece of work. Well worth checking out. Now, Pete's obviously going to talk about it.
Sorry, who was number 1 back in that? I just want to say.
Oh, we were. Well, I was.
You were, because you
I'm
do the
number
Kickstarter thingy.
Number 1.
Do we get a special badge for being number 1?
So obviously Pete's going to talk about it, and also Tom mentions it as well. So essentially, it's throughout the podcast.
Yes.
And we've got an advert for them as well, which has been paid for by video game companies and stuff. Yeah. Whatever. We've got some reviews coming up, but we'll get to them in a moment. Before we do, Cognition Volume One is another book out there on a Kickstarter at the minute. Now, I did say I was going to read this and do a review on it. I'll be honest, I ran out of time. So I severely...
Is that an excuse? Is it?
It's not an excuse. So I apologise to Ken Reynolds for this, but I did have a quick flick through, and I have heard of Cognition before. It's an absolutely beautiful book. You can now get the collected edition, essentially issues 1 to 4, all bundled together in one. So Cognition Volume 1, an occult adventure story. If you click the link below...
You're pointing down, which is worrying. He's naked.
Go and check that out. I'm not naked. It's a bit warm, so I've got my top off.
He's naked.
I will be doing a review of this down the line. I'll be honest, I thought it was like a small comic, and it's like 196 pages. Like, whoa, I ain't got time. It's got to sit there and deal with. But it is, as I say, a gorgeous comic, so please do go and check that out as well. Right, do you want to do reviews or should we do MCM Manchester? Your choice.
MCM first.
Let's do MCM first. So we went to MCM Manchester.
We did.
We were lucky enough to be given creator passes.
That is what we had.
So we essentially got free entry. Now I wish it was free.
Yeah.
But
I've got 2 teenagers.
And car parking.
And,
because
the
car parking in
was...
Manchester.
Say goodbye to 20 quid.
We're used to Northern, where in Kendal you can park for £1 for the full day in certain spaces.
You can.
It's and free if you know where to go.
Yeah, not in I expect there was cheaper places in Manchester, but
you'd have to get there early, I think. I think you can, but you have to get there, but it's still like 10 quid.
Yeah, it was horrendous.
But that's nothing to do with MCM.
No,
that's not
it's
their
nothing to do there. That's just us.
That's to do with them big cities, you know.
Yeah.
So we've been to one MCM, Liverpool, which we knew was obviously a much smaller version, and now they've got rid of it. Full stop. And we rocked up to this, and the queues were huge.
Horrendous.
And again, we could have got in easily, free of charge. It was really good of MCM to give us that, but we chose to queue up. And I'm going to say...
We didn't choose to queue up, we had to chew up.
We had to chew up because of your children.
Chew up. We had to chew up.
But I've got to say, I mean, we started queuing about 11:15.
Oh, they started
come 11
o'clock.
Yeah,
we were in.
The queue went through, even though they were doing bag searches and stuff, the queue just flew.
Yeah, no, it was really well organised.
Yeah, can't knock organisation.
No, and there was a lovely level of security. It was nice. You felt safe.
Yeah. So let's look at MCM and the impression, first of all. What was your impression of MCM as a whole?
Elbows, armpits.
Before you went.
Right. What, MCMs?
MCM, so MCM Comic Cons.
I just thought Funko Pops.
Okay.
And cosplayers.
Okay. So there's obviously a big impression that they don't care about the comics. And it is just, like you say, cosplayers. And we'll go to our impressions of it after we've just gone through the event itself. So it was full of... Obviously, vendor tables, that is what the majority is about.
Yeah.
You had the Comic Village there where there was a lot of creators.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a minute. Let's get to that in a minute.
Right.
And then you had the stars, which Michael Rooker was the only one I was sort of interested in seeing.
We saw him from a distance.
Luckily, he stood up.
He did.
And shouted something at some people behind us.
And then he swore at some people.
And it's like, cool.
And it was
We've had an experience of Michael Rooker.
Yeah, we've seen him now, that's fine. We're off.
But when they're charging 40 quid
Yeah.
odd for a signature, and it's just too much.
It is a lot of money.
I understand. I mean, people are paying it, so why?
People will pay it.
Why won't you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You just feel for the 20 quid ones. It's like, you should just charge a £5, to be fair, mate, whoever you are.
I'll just be doing it for free.
Extra number 2 from Harry Potter. But no, it was cool seeing him and having big name, because he's a big name.
Yeah,
he's not just Guardians and Walking Dead. He's been going.
Yeah,
for
and he
many
did look
years.
like he was spending time with each person that turned up.
I think they do.
I mean,
to be fair.
you don't get your 45 quid worth, but if it's your hero, then you are.
You are. I mean,
quid
there's
worth,
some
don't you?
people.
Patrick
Patrick Stewart, I probably would consider it. William Shatner. There's certain people I'd probably consider.
You see, I've met Sylvester McCoy, and I didn't pay.
Well, that's
and it's like,
different.
oh no, because Sylvester McCoy is my doctor, so it was like, oh, there he is. But that's all I need to see is just like, oh my god, there he is. I'm breathing the same air. The same air as me breathing.
But it's
that's
nice.
all I need. So
I suppose it's nice that there is these avenues which didn't exist 20 years ago. I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, before the Comic Con started in America, and
and then came over here.
Star Trek, Star Wars were the two obviously big pushes on that. So that was fine. Nice to see them. There were some great cosplayers
Oh yes, yeah.
at the event.
Yeah.
Some
So
stunning
please don't have umbrellas at these events and have them open. Because
umbrellas weren't the things that annoyed me. Backpacks were the things that annoyed me.
Backpacks, because that's in my face.
People don't think when they're turning round.
No.
I've got no issue with people having backpacks. But
No, because we had one.
Swing it. No, we had a.
I had a
thingy
backpack on.
But don't swing around and think about who's behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just unthinking. That's just, yeah.
So here comes the issues with the event. My biggest issue, and this is actually something that's not a negative for the event, but it was just too busy.
It was horrendously busy.
You know, I know what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I know that it is just a big supermarket of nerd stuff. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
But it was just so busy that you couldn't.
We couldn't get close enough to look at people's stalls, especially like the comics.
Well, we're coming again to the comic village. That's separate.
But just generally, you couldn't really. If you got in there, you got pushed out the way by. Because I'm not an assertive person.
You're only little, like a little mushroom.
And I'm only short. So, and you put a short person who will apologise if they walk into me, person at the front of our little family group, and it didn't work. We didn't make much headway because I just apologise my way through.
Yeah, when I make headway, I get shouted at.
That's what happened to you. Because people bounce off you because you just plough a line, and that's fine because I just follow in your wake of bodies. But yeah, so it's. I think people are very. I've got to get this or I've got to get that. They're very focused and they don't really think of others. I'm not saying everyone was like that because some people were really nice, and occasionally when I stopped to let someone pass, they would say thank you.
It feels like it almost needs a time system, so you buy a ticket for 2 hours and you go in and somehow to monitor.
Or maybe I cure it and have people go one way round.
That no one will ever do that.
Oh, okay.
But it was just too busy.
Yeah, it was. We were a few hours, weren't we? And that was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the vendors were what we expected. They were fine. A lot less Funko Pops than
a hell of a lot less Funko
than the Liverpool
Pops.
one.
Yeah.
Obviously, that rage is dying. Not dying, but certainly reduced.
I think it's levelling out, isn't it? Thank God.
Which is good. I mean, I love them, but you just want a few. One stall is
There was
enough.
a lot more Japanese figurines.
Yeah, which is fine.
That seems to have come in a lot more now.
But they're more interesting to look at. There's so many different,
you
get
different ones. Yeah, they're a bit more. You've got movement in them.
What did you buy?
Oh, I've got a thing for pin badges now.
That's that Rachel Smith's fault.
It is Rachel Smith's fault. And actually Julie Tate's fault and Cal.
Oh yeah, they brought stuff as well.
Bringing me pin badges back.
Yeah.
So it's pin badges all the way. So and there was a hell of a lot of them. I don't know if it's because I was noticing them because I wanted all of them.
You have a problem.
Possibly. So yeah, I like little things because I find some of like the shops are quite overpriced. So, but I like the things people have made on their own, and those prices are good. So yeah, I bought a little cat pin badge, obviously,
and some Tupperware.
Oh, the Japanese pottery place is there.
Japanese Tupperware.
I love the Japanese pottery place. I can never remember what it's called, but it's always an MCM. And yeah, so I had to buy some bits from there because they're good prices and they're so kawaii.
Oh God. So what did I buy?
You bought nothing, dear.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. I bought a hat for the cat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. But I did buy stuff when I got back, but we'll talk about that in a mo. So, right, let's get to the Comic Village. So, there's been a big push to improve the look or the how the Comic Village is expected from people. Now, the Liverpool one was almost set out like a village, if that makes sense. It had a little archway, it had its own little area. This one wasn't.
It had different colour carpet.
That was it. You couldn't really tell.
No.
I don't know if it's because it was too busy, but it was hard to spend time and see. And this is a complaint, I think, from creators that they don't have people talking to them.
You can't hear. It's because it's a moving queue almost. People can't stop. You stop, you grab, you pay, you go. You can't really have a conversation with too many people.
No. And it was a bit frustrating.
Also, there was different vendors mixed in with the comic creators, which I found diluted. I think
there were all. Yeah, there's a lot of print creators, which I didn't think was meant to be part of that. Yeah. But maybe they had a comic that may have been to get around it. But
I felt a bit frustrated by it because perhaps I wanted it to be quiet, which is not good for the sellers. But I thought, well, maybe people won't go and look at that area.
No, but it's good that there was people going into
Whether
it, and
the
it was
sales
right
were there,
at the front.
I
I don't know because we weren't selling. But
I've seen some reports there weren't, but then I've heard reports there were. So
it's like anything, then, isn't it? Yeah, it's if you're fitting that market, isn't it? So yeah, it's like anything.
It's not. I think we've got an impression of a Comic Con through the lakes, through other Oldham, through whatever. They can be busy, but there's always that time and space that the creators can chat to people that isn't there, and it's completely different.
Yeah, because I like that.
Yeah.
I like to chat to people. So, yeah, I don't know because we weren't on the other side of the table. We were a customer type thing. So,
and it's whether you can make the money back because it is an expensive weekend, not just the parking.
Yeah,
the stuff like that.
Yeah,
it wasn't as enjoyable as I wanted it to be.
I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I did Liverpool's one in a weird way.
No, Liverpool wasn't as busy.
Yeah, and it was in a good area. That I loved that room because it was so high. You didn't get that increased noise level, so that didn't encroach on you. But it was, and it is because I don't know if they should have like a day for short people, maybe.
Dwarf day. Well, there's plenty of dwarf. You got Lord of the Rings, Ewoks. There we go.
We almost got tripped up by a Hobbit, but I don't know if they should. It's hard. Maybe because I'm getting older, maybe I don't like the social amount of people anymore. Maybe if I was younger, maybe I'd be reveling in it. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe we're just too old.
It was reported on the wonderful medium of Facebook about someone had seen a news report where one of the people were talking about the Manchester event on the local news, and at no point did they mention comics.
Right.
And I feel you've just got to go, I knew this was the case when we went, you've got to go to these events not going for comics. You're going for multimedia.
Yeah.
TV,
there
film.
was a lot of PlayStation, Nintendo.
You're going for the whole nerd
of
shebang. You aren't going for comics.
Yeah, no, it's a whole mishmash, isn't it?
And we know that, but it's just something to remind people. Just don't think you're going for comics to a Comic Con ever.
No.
It calls itself a Comic Con, more than likely, not always, but more than likely.
Well, it means the whole genre, doesn't it, really, now? It's a big encompassing umbrella.
Unfortunately, it's confusing because there is still Comic Cons out there that are comics. And it's like, if you're a proper comic convention, don't call yourself Comic Con.
No.
Simple as that.
Yeah, because people...
Festival, True Believers, there's another one that they call itself something different.
Yeah.
You just got to call yourself something different. It doesn't fit. But, can't knock it.
Oh, God,
it does right for what it's trying to do.
Yeah, and it's obviously attracting people, which is the good thing.
It's successful. It's doing the right thing for the right people. Yeah. It's not for us, I don't think.
We're just too old, I think.
No, I just wanted to... It's not even that. I don't think I'd enjoyed it.
Really
it's just too busy.
But we know we're going to cosplay at some point, so that'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm going to go...
You're going to Sonico.
Sonico.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
Get the pink wig.
Thanks. I've got the boobs. Right, let's review some stuff. So we've got some interviews coming up shortly.
Yes, I'm just going to have a swig of my cider.
Enjoy them. That's fine. Right, so I've got 2 reviews to do. First one is Frank on the Farm by Jordan Thomas. Now, this is part 1. Part 2 is coming up Kickstarter very shortly. It's a story, almost as the title suggests, Frank on a farm.
Well, there you go.
But it's Frank coming back to his home after many years away to see his parents and family and so forth. And he finds that they've disappeared. His parents aren't there anymore. So he wanders into the local village to find out if anyone knows what's going on. And no one seems to know of the farm or these people or anything. Now, we've discussed about the artwork when the initial Kickstarter came out, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And the story is very intriguing. And you're definitely going to need part 2 to continue the story. So that is coming out soon, and I recommend giving it a go. It is on Comic House now. He sent us a copy, but then I noticed Comic House, so it's like, I'll just go on there.
Yeah.
Well worth having a read. It's a bit of a mind boggler that is just essentially setting up this next part.
Don't give too much away.
So check Frank on the Farm by Jordan Thomas. And now the next one, which is why I said I purchased something when I got back.
Oh, you did? I know exactly what you purchased.
Is Pride Season 1 by Joe Glass, which we say we interviewed him. And I probably would have bought the physical editions, but he didn't have issue 1. Damn you for selling out. But he has signed a deal now with Comixology, so it is out there on there. So the story is, as he explains in the interview, I can never remember.
LGBT.
There we go. Superheroes. Bringing in inclusion, essentially, for people who have not got it, because there isn't much in the superhero world. And I think it's when they include a gay character or something, it's a big thing, isn't it? It's almost like trying to sell. It's like a sales technique. Rather than just having them just there.
In it, yes, yeah.
Oh, there, they just kissed, right, whatever. It's almost advertising, such and such. And the same's happened with Batwoman, the new CW, making a point that she's gay. It's like, why?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Just have that in the story, that's fine, but you don't need to promote it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe because I'm not gay and I don't need that inclusion, but I don't feel the need to promote it. I just feel it should be part of the story.
Yeah,
it should be almost a normality.
Normal, yeah.
And it's weird. Anyway, so Joe has written this comic of inclusive superheroes. The funniest one is the bear. He's a bear.
He is a bear.
And when I started reading it, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest now because I think it's fair to be honest about this because it's a collection of the stories. Issue 1, I found very meh. It felt, and the reason I can say this is because I'm going to continue on about it in a second. It felt a bit dry. Been done before, It's a creation of a superhero team, and it's like every other creation, they're just gay or lesbian or whatever. Issue 2 starts to change it because then they get into the nitty gritty of being in this era, being gay or whatever. About there's a particular chat about HIV where one of the heroes is questioning another one who's HIV positive.
Yeah.
And he's got the issue of, will I catch it? And that sort of came across because our generation, we had it hammered into us about...
you'd catch it everywhere according to everything.
Well, no, but then it changed. We also then got the education.
That it wasn't
an issue.
Yes, yeah.
And the cases dropped dramatically and it was nothing to be feared of. But no one talks about it now.
No, they don't. No.
So the few people that do have it, and it's nowhere near what it was... during the 80s, 70s, like 80s,
80s, 90s, yeah.
So I can see that the youngsters may be concerned if they come across somebody.
I guess so, 'cause it's not, it's just
it's
not
the norm, but it's
all.
not, it's just not as around there, not as rampant or whatever word you want to put with it. But it's that, and there's also the inclusion of the other side. And this is going to sound weird. There's essentially like a Justice League group who are saying to these guys, are you sure you want to do this? They're creating this team. Are you sure it's safe? And they say, well, is it because we're gay? But they're not saying that they're trying to look out for these guys because they knew how the people would react to them. They're just trying to look after these people who aren't trained superheroes like they are.
Yeah.
Whereas they're taking offence. So it's like looking at both sides, positively, negatively. So my overall opinion of this is it's well worth reading. Grab it from Comixology or find Joe at an MCM if you want another one. But yeah, brilliant, interesting, and
thought-provoking.
Makes you think. We've got another, I can't remember the name of that one we got from Myriad to read, but I've started reading for that, and that's about her life being lesbian from a young age.
Shoes.
It's called Shoes.
Shoes through the ages.
Anyway, we're going to...
what it's called. I can see the front cover. It's really psychedelic. It's got a shoe on it.
We'll review that next episode because that's already started pulling me in. It's a very thick book and it's like, whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. But it started. Kate Bosworth. I think it's Bosworth. It's the writer, but it really intrigues me. So that'll be coming soon. Right, let's listen to the guys talk and the interviews we got, and then we'll come back and talk a bit about the festival.
Yes. Mike's Mutterings.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike's Mutterings. Today I want to celebrate two important geek sci-fi milestones for 2019. Firstly, it was the 40th anniversary of the film Alien on May the 25th, and secondly, a little weird perhaps, we have finally reached 2019, the year Blade Runner was set. And if you're wondering why I'm combining these two important sci-fi franchises together to celebrate, then don't worry, all will be explained. I personally have a long history with Aliens comics, and I've been reading since the very beginning. That was thanks mainly to the oversized magazine comic that hit newsagents in 1991. It reprinted the comics from their start back in 1988 from Dark Horse. Trident Comics was the original publisher, and they bailed, handing over to Dark Horse International label, and the magazine continued reprints as well as new original stories. What I loved about them was that they had loads of articles and technical blueprints and all sorts thrown in with them. When it eventually wound up, I continued buying the trade paperbacks. Like many franchises, it has a huge publishing history, and way too long to go into now. Many of the stories are now flawed or completely obsolete thanks to film sequels. A great example is how bold they were with the Hicks and Newt characters following the Aliens film. The comics did a great set of stories following their release from hypersleep, only to find out that they were killed off at the start of Alien 3 and never actually awoke. So Dark Horse made a bit of a ballsy move here, and they reprinted those comics, but they replaced the names Hicks with Wilkes and Newt with Billy, while Ripley was a synthetic version of the original Ripley. They did also introduce Ripley's daughter Amanda, and she is an important part of the Aliens comic, novel and video game worlds. All these stories are easily collectible now from the Alien Omnibus editions. And there's some great stories in them, some quite dark, several stand out, but you have to play fast and loose with canon a bit. For me though, I feel like a new era started following the series of one-shots that they did to tie in with the release of the Alien Isolation computer game. Just after this, they started a superb story arc of linked series that started in 2016 with Aliens Defiance. Defiance is the start of a longer, still ongoing story arc that feels completely in line with the movies. It has all the best alien tropes, but still has that real original spark that's just got me hooked. It follows the story of USMC Private First Class Zula Hendricks, and feels, from humanity's point of view at least, like the right person in the wrong place at the wrong time. Whilst still in respite from injuries sustained in her first military fire action, she is consigned to being the sole military escort for a team of Private Weyland-Yutani combat synthetics who want to claim salvage rights on a derelict mass hauler. Her presence is merely a matter of red tape, space maritime law as it were, to provide download keys to officially register the ship under Weyland-Yutani control. And it's this purely perfunctory role that lands her in the middle of a full-on alien infestation and an armed synthetic fire team under orders to contain and return home to Earth. Zula is a great character. She's injured and in need of daily medical therapies. She's had to work harder than any other recruit to prove herself, and she's got a good, strong moral core, and you find it easy to sympathise with her as she makes a series of life-changing decisions and sacrifices her career and medical care to act as humanity's gatekeeper. It's a very cinematic style story from Brian Wood. The art is almost all Tristan Jones, and this is such a good artist-subject matter match. Military in style, the technical detailing in things like machinery, ships, uniforms, weaponry, spacecraft, it's just a perfect fit, and yet there's still emotion and drama in there. Artists Riccardo Bercielli and Tony Brasini also have a chapter each too. Specifically, they draw at other locations and times, which makes the tonal shift make sense. Dan Jackson colours and Nate Picos letters throughout the series. The use of different artists for different locations and timelines continues into the second half with Stephen Thompson and Eduardo Francisco too. Zula seems betrayed from all angles, and her few allies have to make the same sacrifices that she does. It's a roller coaster read, it really is. I picked up Defiance in the 2 trade paperbacks, Volume 1 and Volume 2, which each contain 6 issues. I wouldn't recommend starting reading without having both. Better still, in November, they're releasing the Aliens Defiance Library Edition, hardback collecting all 12 issues into a single, very nice-looking volume. But the struggles of Zula continue in the 4-part miniseries Aliens Resistance, which continues not only the events from Aliens Defiance, but also the computer game Aliens Isolation. And this is where Zula teams up with her friend Amanda, daughter of Ellen, Ripley. Here the sides are cleaner and the lines are drawn, and we see the kick-assery move up several notches. The fight basically begins to be taken back to the true enemy. It's just finished this month, and the next continuing miniseries, Alien Rescue, starts, which I, funnily enough, received issue 1 of today. This really is a worthy Alien storyline to follow. There's such a long history of Aliens comics that it's hard to find real gems, but Defiance is a brilliant starting off point. I remember reviewing other miniseries before on the podcasts. I reviewed Dead Orbit back in podcast 28, I think, and even then I admitted to finding nothing new in the story. Dust to Dust is a great car chase of a miniseries, but again doesn't add to the greater story. Defiance, Resistance and Rescue are what you need. Whilst we're in the Aliens universe, I'd also like to take the opportunity to give a quick review of the new Blade Runner 2019 series, issue 1 of which dropped through my letterbox only 3 days ago. In the Aliens universe, I hear you say, Blade Runner? Well, yes, and I know that this is going to need an explanation. For a very long time, there has been a fan theory that Blade Runner, set in 2019, and Alien, set in 2122, share the same universe. Both these Ridley Scott films share common elements. An overarching megacorporation, replicants and their future counterpart synthetics, and then there's the surprise Easter egg in both films. In the 1979 film Alien, Ripley activates the flying scrap heap that is the Nostromo's lifeboat, resulting in the battered and old monitor displaying in large font Purge, as it prepares to purge the engines before firing. In 1984's Blade Runner, we get the same display on a shiny new high-tech spinner monitor that Gaff fires up. Many saw this as the same core technology linking both films, with the old and battered Nostromo still relying on yesterday's tech. This theory's been around forever, but it has been validated in more and more ways in recent years. As more and more original production notes from the original films emerge, you just see dotted references here and there. There's references to the Tyrell Corporation in Alien even. Then Prometheus was released, which, being set in 2093, neatly bridges the two core films. There was a series of shorts that were made prior to the release of Prometheus, all of which I think are still available on YouTube, but definitely are collected in the bonus disc that you'll get with the DVD or Blu-ray. And in these extras there's a glimpse of Wayland's speech, which is very telling, and I'll read a bit now. A mentor and long-departed competitor once told me that it was time to put away childish things and abandon my toys. He encouraged me to come work with him, and together we would take over the world and become new gods. That's how he ran his corporation, like a god on top of a pyramid overlooking a city of angels. And look how that turned out for the poor bastard. Literally blew up in his face. I always suggested he stick with simple robots instead of those genetic abominations he enslaved and sold off-world, although his idea to implant them with false memories was, well, amusing is how I'd put it politely. So, this confirms that his mentor was Tyrell then. The pyramid overlooking a city of angels is the perfect description of the Tyrell Corporation headquarters in Los Angeles. It also explains the shift from genetically grown and altered replicants to aliens' robotic synthetics. This little Easter egg from Ridley, and later interviews with him, confirms that he sees Blade Runner sitting comfortably with aliens in a shared universe. I'll skip Predator for now, because officially it does not share the same universe, but that's for another podcast. Back to the new Blade Runner 2019 comic then, from Titan Comics. Set in the same year as the original movie, the comic follows the exploits of Detective Anna Ashina in the same LAPD as Decker, but we get to call her Ash. Hey, isn't that the name of the synthetic from Alien? Just saying. It's written by Michael Green and Mike Johnson. Green wrote the screenplay for Blade Runner 2049, so he's eminently qualified. He also wrote the screenplay for Alien Covenant. Again, just saying. Mike Sullivan, I know from IDW's Star Trek series, which was really respected by Trekkies, so we know that he's good at writing for franchises and keeping in canon. For visuals, we have artists Andres Guinaldo, Marco Lesko colouring, and Jim Campbell lettering. For a first issue, I thought it was attention-grabbing, but still a little safe. There is a great intro to the main protagonist, Ash, and that sets out her character really well in just a couple of pages. Deckard was tired and jaded, but Ash is confident and bordering on cruel. With no outstanding skin jobs on the run, she's assigned to a missing person case on the bequest of a very powerful individual. I called the first issue safe because it fits in an awful lot of Blade Runner tropes from the offset. The first-person film noir narrative, detective as protagonist, set in LA, even a powerful corporate head as patron. In fact, it felt initially just like a female Deckard, but we start to see a much wider divergence from the Deckard stereotype as it progresses. Again, the way she is summoned by a powerful and influential CEO to his private island had familiar shades of Altered Carbon to it. The thing is, I have to accept that this is a first issue, and you have to grab your fan base first before you go off-piste, especially when you've got a much-loved property like Blade Runner. So I understand it makes sense to do this. It has a good amount of hints and cutscenes to convince you that it's going to be good. Put it this way, I've subscribed to it, and it's part of my pull list going forward. The artwork, colours and lettering are excellent, and they just ooze future LA cyberpunk aesthetic. It recreates the first film very well. There's neon English, Chinese and Russian signs everywhere. All the interiors are decrepit and crumbling, towering office blocks, spinners in the skies, and noodle bars aplenty. I have to mention that the alternate covers available for this are just stunning, and I had a real hard time deciding which one to buy. I don't normally struggle that much. Just so you know, I went for Variant B by Sid Mead because I just loved what an understated and mundane scene it was of just cyberpunk street life. And this is where my notes run out, because I thought I'd covered everything I wanted to talk about for this one, but unfortunately, between jotting these notes down and eventually getting around to recording this, we had the terrible news of Rutger Hauer's passing. It's hard to imagine Blade Runner having the cinematic impact that it did without Rutger's portrayal of the Nexus 6 combat model Roy Batty. The Tears in the Rain speech is an iconic piece of cinematic history now. Despite what people say, it's not strictly true that he wrote it himself. But he did sit down in his trailer and he chopped what was originally an overworked monologue down and eventually added the famous, "All those moments will be lost in time like tears in the rain." Ever humble about it, he made that scene a masterclass of emotion. Roy Batty, Nexus 6, incept date 8th of January 2016, retired 2019. Rutger Olsen Hauer, born the 23rd of January 1944, passed 2019. And on that sad note we end. Till next time.
with Joe Glass at MCM Comic Con, your first interview of the day. So,
definitely that.
So I've just been talking to you. I've seen a lot of you on Twitter talking about your work. So tell us a bit about Pride.
So Pride's all about a team of all LGBTQ superheroes, just adding a bit more diversity and a bit more representation to a superhero genre, which is beloved by gay geeks, but often don't get to see themselves in the actual stories. So it just got to a point where it's just like, well, I'll just make it myself, and thus the Pride was born.
So what's the storyline then behind it?
The initial, the first arc is about the team coming together, and about sort of the community coming together to fight for better representation and also against injustices against them. So there's similarities with existing books like X-Men things, and Justice League, in that it's about a team formation story, that kind of thing. One, after being formed together, they kind of come up against a world who are not ideal when it comes to how they interact with the queer community, but also with a villain who they might wind up becoming the only people in the world who can actually face off against him. So yeah, that's kind of our first volume. We actually have since been picked up by Comixology Originals. So we've got a second season which has just started now, with 2 issues in there. And with the second season, it's a story about the team sort of coping with their newfound fame, and sort of also building up to improve their main goal of representing such a wide and diverse community. Yeah.
So have you found you put real life issues within the story?
Definitely.
Then? Is it sort of trying to bring it how you feel? Or
yeah, it's like my favourite books when I was a kid growing up were things like X-Men, and but what they always did is they often brought in social issues, sometimes through metaphor, and sometimes it was just there, just like a hidden little thing where you just read it and then it would make you want to sort of learn a bit more about what they're talking about. And that's what I want to do with the Pride as well. So the Pride does have a lot of issues which sometimes get put down to being like gay issues or queer issues, but I sort of wanted to share them in a way which is like they're very much human issues and anyone can understand them and relate to them. Thankfully, in the time we've been making a book, I've had so many people come up to me and be like, oh, I'd never thought of it that way, or it's something I'd never considered because I'm straight, and so it didn't think it affected me. And just realised that, actually they could relate to those sort of issues. So it's kind of about finding that common ground.
That's well. I see if you've got a mix, you've got straight and
absolutely.
Everybody enjoying
the book the book is designed to be really accessible to any age, any sexuality, gender. It's all about being accessible for anyone.
As all comics should be.
As they should be. Absolutely.
It should be like that no matter what.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So where can you find information online? Obviously Comixology, you've just said.
Comixology is the big place. Like I said, the books are now part of Comixology Originals. Season 2 is exclusively with Comixology Originals. People who just really love print copies, they can purchase them on our online store, which is thepride.bigcartel.com. That, like I say, has all the first sort of season of stories from our self-publishing days. So what we've got left in print is available there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. Cheers.
So we're here with Tom Sparke. I keep wanting to call you Tom Sparkle, I'll be honest.
Happens a lot.
I look at it. It's Tom Sparkle.
Yeah, I should change it.
So tell us, first of all, MCM. This is sort of a new breed to us. We don't do MCMs often.
Yeah.
Comic events we're used to are much quieter, much more civilised.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What do you enjoy about MCMs?
All of them have got different personalities, to be honest. This is the first time I've done Manchester, and it's incredibly friendly. I had a really, really fun day. Lots of people to talk to. Lots of really nice. I think that's it. I think that's exactly what it is. There's Birmingham, which is always a pretty friendly vibe as well, but the sales can be hit and miss there. And then London's just absolutely mad. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially the Saturday, you can't move in there. It is less friendly, but it's just absolutely crazy. It won't let up. But very different feel to things like Nottingham, which has much more of a local and friendly feel to those sort of things. There is definitely an MCM sort of brand that has a...
In relation to sales then, compared to say somewhere like Nottingham, how is it? Is it... Are they bigger sales or...?
So certainly London tends to be, because it's just a sheer number of people. It does contribute to higher sales. But for the people in Nottingham, I think we're much more engaged with comics and just looking for comics rather than the other sort of media stuff, film stuff and that sort of thing around,
Tell us a bit about your work then.
So mainly it's Captain Fishbeard. We've got 2 volumes now of that, which is obviously started out as the webcomic. Sorry?
They're both through Fair Spark.
The second one is through
Fair
Fair Spark, but they've done a wonderful job. Made it look really similar to the first one as well. So they've been going well today. I've been very pleased to say.
Yeah.
So it's still ongoing online on Webtoon. That's hosted via the website. We've also got Choose Your Own Adventure Story featuring a Yeti, and my newest work is Over the Dark Side of the Table. It's called Fiends and Family.
It's a very different side.
And it's monsters. It's old pictures which I've gone over with Posca pens to make into monsters, to make into sort of monster family album. So this got various uncles and aunts with humorous plaques underneath them. So that's going well. That's the first outing today.
I'm sort of looking at it properly. That's made me chuckle.
I'm pleased with that. Thank you.
So, what's is this your part-time work? You work?
Yes, yeah, still do the normal 9 to 5 sort of thing, and this is the fun for the exactly. This is the fun part, though. But it's a nice relief to go home and do some drawing.
So, what's your goal with this? Would this be your ideal career down the line, or?
I don't know. It's really fun to have as a hobby. It takes you away from from daily life. So it's a very nice thing to have as a bit of escapism, if you like.
Okay.
But I don't want it to stop being fun. I think I was relying on it. I'm relying on the sales and. Turning this actually into actual cash, that might take out some of the fun. So I think just keep going with these sort of things and keep people engaged, really.
Brilliant. Superb. Right, well, where can they find you online then?
At tomsparke.com or captainfishbeard.com.
Well, Fair Spark Books, part of the Fair Spark Books.
That too.
You've got to promote. Brilliant, thank you, Tom.
Perfect, absolute pleasure, thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
As long as you don't mind me carrying on drawing.
No, by all means, you can draw away. Okay. So I'm just looking at the table here, you've got Moon.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about the comic.
Basically, the moon drops out of the sky early hours every morning, puts on a suit, takes out a gun, fights ridiculous crime.
That's how you sell a comic.
Yeah, he's been doing it 2,000 years, ever since a botched drunken Celtic ceremony in 12 AD. He was supposed to be a beautiful blue moon goddess who could sweep entire armies into the sea, but they messed it up and we ended up with a skinny guy with a moon for a head. So now we are. He's got no face with which to emote, no mouth with which to speak. If you put a Coke float in front of him, he will drink it, but no one's entirely sure how. He's a surprisingly good shot, and he's teamed up with a homicidal traffic warden by the name of Shade Rodriguez, who pretended... we think he pretends to be from Chicago, when really we suspect he's from Sheffield.
I can understand the confusion.
And it's... that's Miss Moon.
That's brilliant.
And that's not even the plot, that's just some character stuff.
Are you creator, you writer?
I'm the artist, yeah. It was created by Dan Thompson some years ago, and it was originally a short film, and then we developed it up into a comic, and now here we are all these years later and we're still going. So we're hoping to start volume 2 soon.
Where did it come out with the idea? Any ideas? Because this is just nuts.
Yeah. Basically, what it was there was a film competition, and the film's title was The Day the Moon Got Too Close. So whereas everyone else went the obvious route of rising tides and Dan's like, oh, well, that sounds like a detective story. So here we are. Yeah. All that time later.
Absolutely brilliant. Where can people find the work then if they're interested? Because they should be right now.
We are, they can even find me in the Comic Village. Although
MCM Manchester.
In MCM Manchester, or given that this is a recording and may not be out by then, you can find us at beyondthebunker.com.
Do you usually do MCMs then? What's it you like about?
Oh, we're fervent MCMers. Yes, absolutely.
What's it like about MCM?
Initially, I mean, we've been going for, I don't know how many we've done now. It's ridiculous. We must be coming up on 9 years now, or whatever it is. For a big corporate engine, it's surprisingly focused on making sure that customers and exhibitors and everyone have a good time. MCM, it's the old reliable, if you see what I mean. Whereas a lot of other cons, they can go up and down every year. MCM just sort of, it's always fairly consistent. There's always a constant balance find. Even when they've been, because they've been taken over very recently, as you probably know. Even then, like, there are a couple of glitches, but like, considering they've just been taken over by a much larger company, and there were things that they had to change because they'd accidentally missed it in previous years.
There seems to be more of a focus on the comics as well. The comics village.
It was.
They're trying to push that a bit more.
It was something they really made a point of saying they really didn't want to. It was more a case of. It's more. It works in both directions. So, because I think it's a case of they would like the comic village to be more worthwhile, because the comic village is something they don't want to get rid of.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, what they want to do is make it more prominent and more popular. You know, to make it, because they. But again, that's great because we have. I mean, there's other large companies that I mean, I've literally, as a quote, I've been told that you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I travelled the entire country and went to Glasgow and was put in a trunk room with pipes. And when I complained, this is honestly true, and when I complained, they said you get what you pay for. And I was just another table. So, compared to what you get with other, you know what I mean? Obviously the smaller ones. I mean, actually, I've never smaller. Obviously, is better.
Well, everyone's treated the same.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
One little hall or whatever.
And there's a visible management and all that sort of stuff. So the smaller ones are great, and typically will always be a pleasure to attend. It's more about whether or not you can turn over enough revenue to make it worthwhile. So that's. I mean, if I could, I would, because I was going to almost one a week at one point. I was doing 35. I think was the most I did.
Okay.
So I got a bit of perspective on it, and if it was financially viable, I would just do the small ones at MCM. I mean, and that would be my. And when I say small, I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, not hanger.
You're Nottingham,
yeah.
You're focused on comics rather than.
Yeah, your lakes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely no, because it is something we've been eyeing for some time. So it's like, it's not. It wasn't dismissed out of hand. It was just too far north. That was the problem. Too much of an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
And for us, because we couldn't really find. For some reason, I've always struggled to find information on it.
Okay.
And and then when there's an unknown quantity, you can't be sure whether it's worth the journey. But it's certainly something I've always kept an eye on. And I've never heard a bad word about it either.
No. We'll discuss that in a second.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
Well, we've done Whitehead, who we spoke to a year and a half ago at Oldham Comic Con. Yeah. First, and you seem to be everywhere we're going, or vice versa, this past year.
I am following you.
What's been new since?
Let me see. Since a year and a half ago, probably the most recent one is Ella Upgraded, which has just been picked up by Fair Spark Books.
I thought I saw that. So you're part of the family with Nikki as well, then?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So they're going to be putting out a sort of 48-page graphic novel edition early next year, 2020.
Awesome.
We're going to Kickstarter with that in the next week or so.
Brilliant.
And work is already underway.
So what date is it launched? Have you got an actual date, or is it?
I think it's going to be the 1st of August. That's the plan.
Just as this drops?
Yes, I just need to record a video, so that's the main thing.
Okay. But you're spending time here.
If it's not online, then it's my fault.
Right, okay, fair play.
So yeah, that's my main one at the moment, which is it's a sort of superhero comic for kids about an 11-year-old girl who gets, here comes the voiceover to spoil it.
Yes, always. I'm just going to be closer to you.
It's about an 11-year-old girl who's obsessed with the old Game Boy, well, we call it a Game Box, that her dad left her. And she's in an accident, and her brother, who's a scientist, who's trying to prove this theory he's got. He uses the broken game box from the accident to fix her brain, and now she can put the cartridges from the game into her head.
I was thinking then, he's not going to say that.
He does, yeah. And then she gets the powers from whatever the characters are in the game. So if it's a ninja game, she puts like a ninja game cartridge in there, she becomes a ninja. So it's kind of inspired by like sort of early Silver Age, kind of like very much early Spider-Man type stuff, but with a sort of modern storytelling.
Cartoon straight away.
Yeah.
Straight away.
But also things like the old strips you used to get in like the Beano and things like that, like Leopard of Lime Street, Billy the Cat, and those kind of like comedy strips where there was somebody who like had a thing in each issue. That there was the boy with all the toy soldiers. I can't remember his name. Danny's Tranny was another one where he had that transistor radio that would like every issue would do something new. So it's that kind of storytelling where you can, whatever game idea you can think of, you can build a story around it for Ella. You know,
so much content.
You know, if she's got a flight simulator game. Now she can fly a fighter jet. What are we going to do with that? 11-year-old girl flying a fighter jet.
I thought then came that so boring flight simulator. Jesus Christ!
But also there's things you can do with it. I mean, I don't want to spoil what's going to happen at the end of this storyline, but it's like, how could you use like a sort of 9-ball pool game to help foil a bank robbery?
Okay.
Things like that. You can sort of limit the games she has, and that kind of in turn changes her power set. So it's never just like, she can do X, Y, and Z and that's it. There's this constant, and we're going to have her going on eBay looking for new game cartridges, sort of shopping for superpowers almost.
I like it. I really like that idea.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So like I said, we've seen you at sort of every event that we've been to. You've been there this year. What is it? You do quite a few MCMs, do you? You do quite a few of the MCMs, do you, quite often?
I only do the Manchester one.
What is it about MCM that brings you back?
It's just there's so many people and so many fandoms all smashed together. And what I like about it, and some people sort of criticise shows like this for not being comics focused, but I find that loads of the people who are here are really interested in new comics.
It doesn't have to be comics focused as long as they're putting some effort to the comics.
Exactly, yeah. And loads of people are very open to finding new comics, is what I've found. They're not this idea that people just come and buy Funko Pops and go home. That's not my experience of it. Shows like this, you get, literally thousands of people who are just excited about new stuff.
Can I say, I've seen less and less Funko Pops. I've only ever been to one that's certainly dropped.
Yeah, but I just there's loads of people, and it's just I just enjoy seeing so many different fandoms and all these different cosplays, and there's a sort of festival atmosphere to this that I think just you can tell that people have been itching to come out all year dressed as their favourite character, and for some people maybe that's the only chance they get to kind of go, I'm a fan of this, because they can't, at school or in the office sort of talk about how
they
much
should dress up in the office. It makes work far more interesting.
But it's nice to see, just people sort of letting their geek flag fly and just being like, this is a place where I can, and there'll be other people who like it as well. It's a nice feeling, people, these, I guess it's a big corporate show, but it's got a really nice atmosphere. I always enjoy doing it.
It's interesting just seeing everyone working away, and everyone seems happy.
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign.
It's rammed at the moment. It really is.
And you got the Lakes this year?
I'm going to. That'll be my first time at the Lakes. Okay. Not first time as doing tables. I've been as a punter. But
anywhere else?
I'm doing Nottingham and Thought Bubble.
Okay. Big.
Yeah.
Up there, then.
And then that's me for the year.
Yeah. Right. Brilliant. Thank you very much, and good luck with Ella Upgrade.
Thank you very much.
I do. Welcome to Breakdowns, the comic art section of the podcast. My name's Pete Taylor. Online I trade as This Man, This Pete. And today we have old friend of the podcast, Mark Hughes.
Hello.
The reason that we're both here today is we are just shy of 48 hours into my first Kickstarter campaign, which launched on Monday, is it the 28th? About 4:30, and now we are, lucky enough to be in a position that with about 2.5 hours left of our first 48 hours, we are already, what are we at? About
230%, is it?
237%, yeah. So it was an £800 goal. The book is pretty much done. We are just kickstarting for the print costs. It is called The Seven Sagas of Silverbeard. It is the story of a guerrilla warrior battling over 7 lifetimes to overthrow the uncaring gods that betrayed him and would turn his world into a wasteland. People who know and have listened to the podcast are aware of my penchant for monsters and all things ape. So this project has been it's been underway. I remember me and you sat in the Cardiff Con, I think, and we were both drawing Silverbeard.
Gorillas galore.
Gorillas and monsters. I mean, it's been out there as a character in on my desk, as it were, since about 2008. But it's a 40-page, oversized comic magazine. It's got 2 amazing adventures of the Gorilla Gladiator. The first one is called Hellbound and is set during a period of seafaring high adventure for Silverbeard. He's been relentlessly pursuing the World Tree, which is the only route back to his home and the gods who betrayed him. And the story starts with him partnering with the Pirate Brotherhood. But suddenly he breaks agreement and leaves the expedition. Where could he be heading? The Buccaneers send a shadowy figure from Silverbeard's past, the roguish jaguar assassin Obsidior, with an ultimatum: return or die. Now that's the first tale. And then Mark is drawing the second story, which is called The Two-Headed Serpent. A younger, lawless Silverbeard has used his great strength and dexterity to carve out a successful career as a burglar and thief in the city of Akwan, a dreadful hive of wickedness. It's rich pickings, but there's no honour amongst thieves, and Silverbeard has to fight to get paid what was agreed. So, I mean, as you can hear, it's low fantasy, which apparently, now I've chatted to Mike about this, low fantasy is when you don't have all of the other races, like elves and orcs and dwarves.
Oh, right, okay.
So Lord of the Rings is high fantasy.
Ah, right.
But Conan, which of course there's a massive dollop of Conan in Silverbeard. Yeah, that's low fantasy because you haven't got the kind of different races. It's mainly sort of humans. You'll have the odd monster race, I think. I mean, in Silverbeard, the next principal sort of thing is he does have a lot of trouble with trolls.
Yeah, as you do. Trouble with trolls.
That's the main thing that
I
think puts another kind of race in there. But yeah, we got 40 pages. Mark's finished drawing his. He's waiting for me to colour. I am, I think, 6 pages of inks left. It's all drawn. 6 pages of inks left. Mark's pages you can have a look on Kickstarter. You can see my coloured pages on Kickstarter as well. There is another wrinkle to the dimension, and that is the fiction that the comic book adventures of Silverbeard have already been published. The character was a minor hit for a small publisher that ran from the late 60s to the mid-90s, but terrible production costs, terrible production values and substandard paper have meant no issues have survived, and his adventures must be recreated by me and Mark. If you go onto the Kickstarter, there's a lovingly prepared video that me and Sock put together.
Actors we not.
Oh, I'll tell you, Children's Film Foundation production levels for the video. But it was great fun. You can see there's a kind of reenactment of that perfect afternoon of a bottle of rollover cola, a pack of Yum Yangs, and a massive pile of Cat Food comics. So there's some recreations of Cat Food comics covers, including Silverbeard in the video. And there's even a guest appearance by Marlon the dog at the end.
Yeah, so if you're not digging the video, but you like dogs, make sure
stay to the end.
Yeah, make sure you watch it all the way.
Because the great thing about Kickstarter is we get access to a lot of sort of analysis videos, analysis information. So it's the first time I've run one. You've run a couple now, haven't you?
Yeah, a couple. 2.
You did a hardback book and your your alphabet book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the first I've collaborated and I've helped people out and, you know, been attached to Kickstarters, but this is the first one that's kind of in my name and running. So it's interesting to see all of the different information you can get about the backers, where they've come from, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Kickstarter itself. And one of the things you get to find out is how many people have watched the video and how many people have started to watch the video but then not finished it.
Yeah.
Which I think is more people have started and not finished than actually got to the end. So if you do visit the page, try and bump our numbers on that. We spent a couple of hours of an afternoon putting that together, which you'll probably see reflected in the video. But it's been fun seeing it all sort of kick off online, hasn't it? And seeing people backing it and saying
it's been great, and it's actually happening. You know,
I know, it's been a long time, isn't it?
Yeah,
it was weird. Just even pressing the button, I remember I was ready about 2:30, but I just kind of got the jitters. Then I was like, you get all this. Is it right? Is it? I'll just give it one last spelling sweep. Is the rewards okay?
Yeah.
So we got about, I should have had 7 reward tiers with it being the 7 sagas, but I've ended up.
That would have been good.
Yeah. Well, I suppose technically we got 6.
Yeah.
But actually no, by the time this goes out we will have 5. You've got the PDF, you've got the physical pledge level, which is Lawless. That's £8. You've got the Relentless level, which is the comic, oversized comic magazine size, 40 pages, 26 pages of comics, 6 pages of features, and 6 pages of gallery, I think. The Relentless, you get a signed bookplate, and then the one that's, I think, has been the most popular one so far, isn't it? Which is the
it's doing really well.
Merciless pledge level, which you get an exclusive Jim Mafood art print. We were lucky enough to, Mark had already met Jim before when you'd gone to the Kentucky Con, hadn't you?
Yeah, to LexCon, Lexington Toy and Comic Convention, I think.
Yeah, was that 2017? Something like that, was it?
Oh, no.
Or 16?
I've been twice, haven't I? So, probably around about then. And then I went 2 years after that, so, yeah.
You hung out with a few legends on that
The second time, especially.
Yeah,
it was great. Really good time.
Well, Jim was then over to Thought Bubble last year. So, Mark brought him down to the pub, the old Weatherspoons in Leeds. Where we plied him with... Actually, we didn't have to ply him with too much drink before he agreed, did he?
Nah, and he bought a round.
Yeah. Legend. And he agreed with the immortal lines, "You had me at Gorilla." Yeah. So he was true to his word. He's done us an amazing picture of Silverbeard for the gallery section. And he's also agreed to let it be used as an art print just for this Kickstarter campaign. So it's the only time that... it's going to be offered. This print's going to be offered. The next pledge level is all of that. So comic, signed book plate, Jim Mafood print, and just to bring it down again, an A5 ink sketch from me or Mark.
Yeah.
That was one of the things.
Something to make a note on at the end of the day, isn't it?
That was one of the things I was kind of a bit. Before I was getting the jitters about, I was like, should that be above the Jim Mafood art operator? It's like, are we not reducing the value by sticking one of our little pics in? But there's nothing better than sitting down with a couple of pints and drawing gorillas. So if you do back that, you'll get a cracking ink sketch from me or Mark. Worth mentioning the other people in the gallery. We've got Russell Mark Olsen from Gateway City,
whose piece is incredible.
Yeah, he's fighting a troll. We've got Nick Brokenshire, who's the artist on Star Wars Adventures at the moment, and he's worked for 2000 AD, Judge Dredd. Amazing artist. We got a piece of him at the Swansea Con. We got the mighty Nick Prolix.
King Prolix.
Doing an amazing savage Silverbeard piece. He's carrying a massive bone club. It looks amazing. And then one Daisy Taylor, who, if the name sounds familiar, actually Daisy's been on the podcast as well. She's been on this. We were talking about the Lakes Festival. That's my daughter. She's done an amazing picture of Sintra, the Savannah Siren, who's a kind of jungle queen character from Silverbeard's.
She's great.
Untamed Days. She did a really good. She actually redesigned her pretty much. I'd drawn her a few times, but then when Daisy kind of just started her version,
she's brilliant.
Yeah,
the blades are great, aren't they?
Yeah. A couple of daggers. So yeah, got packed gallery, amazing artists, some good different packages, different tiers. It's going to be running for another 28 days. So if you want to jump on board and take a look, it's at silverbeard.co.uk. That link is just going to jump you straight to the Kickstarter. And if you sign up then as well, you'll also get the updates coming through, which has got lots of info on the progress of the comic, but also I'm sticking in some fun little bits about the history of cat food comics as well. So you'll see some of the characters, some of the information that's not in the comic yet coming through in the updates. And then all that's left to do is finish the colouring.
Yeah, it's not going to take long. Well, I say that. I say that like I'm colouring it.
Yeah, I mean those six.
It shouldn't take long. It won't take me long.
The 6 pages I've already coloured. They took longer than inking it, to be honest.
Yeah,
but that's if you're out with a flatting.
Yeah,
that'll make a difference as well. Yeah, flatting is when somebody defines the areas that it's going to be coloured. So it's usually something like either a selection, or most people will just colour in different areas of the panel. So making sure the face, the hand, the table, the cup is all coloured in a defined area. So then when the colourist comes along, they can just click on it and fill it the actual colour they want it to be. So that's the stages left to do. But we will be complete in time for it to be at the Lakes Festival. So that's going to be, and then we're going to be at Thought Bubble in it's back to November this year, I think.
The new Thought Bubble.
Yeah. So I think with us having those festivals, the fulfillment date we've put on Kickstarter is November, but I'm pretty sure that because we want to meet those festivals, that we'll get it out before then. So, yeah, thanks for listening to this massively long plug. And if you do want to check it out, that's silverbeard.co.uk. And the Instagram for it is catfood_comics. So me and Mark are going to be posting we've got some history of cat food comics there, and will just be anything to do with the project is going to be on there as well as our own personal accounts.
It sure is.
Nice one. All right, thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Hoil.
Cat Food Computers presents the Seven Sagas of Silverbeard. Play as Silverbeard as you travel through his whole 7 sagas. Jump through the Untamed Age. Sneak into the Lawless Age. Fight through the Lost Age and finally take on the gods of the Ash, Hala in the Fated Age. The 7 Sagas of Silverbeard, available now on Mega Drive, Super Nintendo and Game Boy. Available from GameStation, Blockbuster, Woolworths, and all good video game retailers. The 7 Sagas of Silverbeard. Out now.
Hello and welcome to Small Press, the small press review section of the Comic Art Festival podcast with Tom Stewart of That Comic Smell podcast. How is everybody doing today? Now, I am here to talk about a very beautiful looking and very intriguing comic that I discovered whilst on Comic House recently. And it's by Grim Comics, Grym Comics. And it's called Peace of Mind. Story by Callum Fraser, art and colours by Emiliano Correa, and letters by Rob Jones. So Peace of Mind issue 1, disposed of after breaking both the terms and conditions and depleting her credits for a VR service, 57762D suffers a seemingly fatal cardiac arrest. Discovered by an outcast and transported to a community that lives off the grid to escape corporate influence, it becomes apparent that 57762D is more alive than expected. It's a full-colour 28-page comic. It comes in digital and physical, that you can actually get on grimcomics.co.uk. There's issue 1 and 2 out at the minute. I'm going to speak about issue 1, but there's issue 1 and 2 out at the minute. There's also a comic called Maya up there as well. The digital's only £3 and the physical's only £5, so well worth it. I was really, really taken with this comic. It very much was reminiscent of like the Matrix, but like the Zion parts of Matrix. Just like them being on the ship and their kind of community and stuff, because it starts off very much like somebody in the sort of matrixy sort of made up world, and then it just quickly progresses into a deterioration of that and showing the real world and what's actually happening, and this person being, or this being being hooked up to all these wires, and you know something's not quite right with her, and these people that are monitoring the situation come and just cut her loose, and she's just dumped with all the rest of the ones that get cut loose, kind of thing. Then it kind of gets into the part where she's found, and there's something a bit intriguing about her, that when the person finds her, he gets shocked off of her, and that doesn't normally happen, and it kind of goes from there, but you get to feel the severity of the situation and how much these people are hiding and everything. There's a distinct difference between each of the characters. The ones that come and cut this being loose are very much, they're all in the same kind of uniform, and they've all got these kind of laser weapons and stuff like that, whereas the guy that finds her is just like a total civvy in like kind of more like a sort of mining outfit and looking a wee bit grubby and dirty, and the pile of bodies that she's landed on is just so massive, and you're getting a real feel of this world from the very, very start, and where everybody is, and what the kind of hierarchy and stuff is just from the first opening pages, and it's a good setup. It's a really, really nice setup. I'm really taken with the visuals that Emiliano sets up. They're really quite. They can be kind of choppy and quite fast-paced and actiony looking, but these sort of digitised breaking down pages at the start are really, really nice, and the panels all kind of start skewing off, and you can see that distortion of reality, and people start losing their faces and whatnot, and when it gets into the real world, the colours are just fantastic. There's really sort of deep reds and cybernetic blues and sort of green smokes and hazes, and all the tunnels and everything are all quite dark and dank. There's a lot of deep purples and nice blues going on. It's really lovely. The visuals are stunning, absolutely stunning, and there's a nice sort of cast of characters within this to set it up as well. The thing that got me about it was that it sets up a lot of questions in the first issue, and just enough. There is a teetering point in a comic where you can set up questions, and if they're not answered, it can either put you off going any further, or it can make you intrigued to go that bit further. And I think they just get it on the cusp and no more. There's enough that actually propels you that bit forward, which is good. It's a really, really nice setup, and there's a nice diverse cast. There's a good sort of small gang setup going forward in this as well, that you can almost see yourself getting behind all these characters and seeing what they're up to and what one does what and what jobs they do around the place. It's really good. And they've got the usual kind of get this guy to come in and have a look. He seems like the tech guy, and they've got somebody else that seems to be like the welfare / doctor type, and your scavengers and whatnot. It's good. I really enjoy it. But like I say, it's a fine balance, because if they had just taken just a couple more intriguing plot points and not answered them, I think I would have been turned off. So I'm glad. It's really, you can tell that's really well thought out that way. The writing sometimes can be a little bit tropey, just a wee bit. I think it's enough that it still works within the context of the story. It's very hard to do something like this, especially with things like The Matrix and stuff having been and gone. It's very hard to do stories like that and not seem like they're tropes now. So I think they do a good job, but there's just occasional lines of dialogue that people say, and we sort of catchphrases and that they're coming away with. I think, I don't know if that really works, but a lot of these personalities that they're showing through and all these characters, I think they definitely get off with it. So, but this, to come back to the art just quickly, there is some of these pages, the way that they're set out, and some of the panels and the way that they're set up as well are just, it's expert. Absolutely adore it. I like when people play with characters not being confined by the panels, and that you can have, say, 7 panels on a page, and yet there's still room for a person to be working outside of the panels and on the actual page itself. And the colours seem to go all around the outside, actually on the space between the panels as well. No one page is the same sort of thing. You don't just get your white backgrounds on everything. There is a hue or a gradient to each one that makes it unique. So it's really, really nice. There's also a nice little, just one panel that's like them logging into a mainframe setup, and it's just your usual kind of blue screen with the white writing. It looks authentic to that, but it's also something you can relate with. You've seen it on Windows computers and everything over the years. There's certain beings and machinery and that they use within it that they have to give us a darker hue to it, and just simple things like maybe accentuating a part of a creature per se, like the eyes or the mouth or something, makes it look sinister and that they should be feared or something along those lines. It's nice. It's really well set up. I think every time they go into the mind of this being that's the one that they find, it's really interesting. I do really enjoy those kind of digitized effects that they're using. And there's a couple of pages on, I think it's like the last 2 pages, of a creature of some sort disappearing. And it's just one whole page with a couple of dialogue boxes, and then the last one's just like the last one's just a pure black page with disconnected written at the bottom and one speech bubble at the top saying "see you soon." Well, there's other dialogue in it, but I don't want to give it away. But it just works really, really well. I was really, really taken by this. Really, really taken by this. This was something that I just sort of stumbled across on Comic House, and I was really severely taken by it. Really interesting, and I'm intrigued to read the next part. And as far as I know, the next part, issue 2, is on Comic House as well, so I will dive into that. But I thoroughly recommend that you get into it. The thing I will say, Rob Jones is credited as letterer, and I'm glad that they put his credit in there, because the lettering throughout it is absolutely beautiful. There's some good sort of number points, and there's nice fonts throughout it as well to show each different character, and some of the more sort of robotic characters have got more of an edge to their writing and looks a bit more sort of computerized, I would say, but it's really nice. It's one bit that I actually managed to pick out throughout it. I was really impressed with the lettering. But yeah, Peace of Mind issue 1. You can get it on Comic House or Comics Central or Comixology, or get it on grimcomics.co.uk, and you can get a digital or physical version there. You can find Callum Fraser on Twitter at nomdethingy. NOMDETHINGY. You can find artist Emiliano Correa at Guason 0411, which is GUASON 0411. And you can find letterer Rob Jones at Rob Jones Writes. ROBJONESWRITES. Really enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Oh, and you can get Grim Comics at Grim Comics, GRYM Comics, on Twitter. And that is it for Small Press this time, but I do want to, quickly before I go, tell you about some Kickstarters that are up at the minute that you can check out. I've got a number of them, so I'll just quickly run through them as swiftly as possible here. First of all, there is our very own Pete Taylor, has his continuation of the classic Silverbeard story, which is the 7 Sagas of Silverbeard. A guerrilla warrior battles over 7 lifetimes to overthrow the uncaring gods that betrayed him and would turn his world into a wasteland. It looks absolutely fantastic. That is the 7 Sagas of Silverbeard by Pete Taylor and Mark Hughes, son of Ken on Twitter. Absolutely stunning art. Looks like an absolutely brilliant continuation of the classic Silverbeard story that was lost through the ages. Give it a check out. Get on Kickstarter, check that out. Also, we have Ella Upgraded, Volume 1. It's the new story to come from Fair Spark Books. Writer Dan Whitehead. Artist P.R. Dedelis. Colours Abby Bulmer. And letters Jim Campbell. When 11-year-old Ella is in an accident, her scientist brother saves her life by putting her beloved Gamebox console in Ella's brain. Now Ella can gain the skills and abilities of her favourite video game characters. But does she have what it takes to become a real superhero? Looks really good. Looks really interesting. I like the visuals behind it. And Fair Spark Books never really have a foot wrong, in my opinion. Well worth it. Going to be a good all ages friendly comic. So check that out on Kickstarter. One that just popped up today that I noticed was Welcome to the Funfair #1 by Vault 29 Comics. It's by writer Joe Backstrom and artist the amazing Charles H. Raymond. I think I personally would jump on anything that Charles has done anyway because his visuals are absolutely fantastic, but it just looks to be a fun, exciting story as well. But I've only just noticed it pop up, so I don't really know much about it. But it's always worth jumping on anything that Charles is on. It's a 24-page comic book based around a mysterious funfair who rolls into town. Keep your family and friends in sight. Oh, I like the sound of that. Yeah, definitely give that a shout. And lastly, Cognition Volume 1. Ken Reynolds and Sam Bentley. The Cognition series is an absolute favourite of mine. They're all on Comic House as well, actually, but this is a Volume 1, collects issues 0 to 4, so it's a trade paperback. 196-page comic trade paperback, collects issues 0 to 4 of a story of a robot with a human soul and a demonically possessed mouse. They're absolutely amazing stories. They're kind of like I would say like the British Hellboy, kind of like the BPRD, but they're part of BOSS, the British Occult Secret Service. But some of the rewards that Ken's given away with this are fantastic. I mean, great collector's boxes, amazing bookmarks, amazing prints that come with them as well, which I've got some of them from previous Kickstarters that they did for the issues. They're absolutely fantastic. Well worth a look. And that is it for this time. You can send your small press comics or suggest some small press comics to me by sending me an email to thatcomicsmell@gmail.com or direct messaging me at thatcomicsmell on Instagram or Twitter or at Uramyx, URAMYX. If you could just label your small press suggestions or your small press books as small pressed. And do bring them in, because I would love to read some new small press titles. It'd be fantastic. And that is it. Go and read some small press comics and support some small press creators. I have been Tom. You have been fantastic. See you later.
Back, and I forgot to mention before, Ella Upgraded, the new comic from Fair Spark Books, which I spoke to Dan Whitehead about, is now up on Kickstarter.
I'm really interested.
Sounds
in this.
really interesting. Such an interesting idea.
Yes. And they put some artwork up as well.
And as we sort of said with Dan, it is such an interesting idea that makes it so easy to write new content for it because there's so many options you can go with.
Go anywhere with it, really.
So yeah, it's like so easy, so easy. So brilliant.
I'm sure it's not easy, but
no,
yes.
probably. Well, no, he said it is. He said it is.
Oh, he said it is.
Yeah, it's fine. We can go with it. But no, it is such an interesting concept, and I like the idea. So check that out on Kickstarter. Now a link will also be in the bottom.
In the bottom?
Yeah.
He's still naked.
Not naked. Right, okay, so the Lakes Festival has put up now their whole event list of what's going on.
Yes, all of it.
So we'll start looking at some of them in particular next episode, but let's look at the evenings. Now, the opening night, the Viz 150 Character World Record Challenge.
I can't wait.
So
We're there.
we love the opening evenings.
Yes.
So let's read this out. To celebrate the 40th anniversary of Viz, probably our greatest British institution, Simon Thorpe, Graham Dury, Steve McGarry and Luke McGarry are going to attempt to set the world record for drawing all 150 Viz characters in 50 minutes.
It's going to be brilliant.
So what you're going to get there is
a lot of people drawing very fast.
and also a lot of rude chit-chat.
There's going to be a lot of rude chit-chat. Oh my God, there's going to be so much rude chit-chat.
Bearing in mind it's hosted by Peter Kessler and Julie Filthy Tate.
That's it, really. I'm going to have to take earplugs for the kids.
So, yeah, that'll be... The opening nights are always fun. So if you are
raucous.
Coming along, that is, you get your tickets for that because it sells out. It is good night. You also find other stuff going on throughout the evening as well. It's not just that.
No.
Then you've got after hours at Ruskin's. Pop Noir are DJing on that evening, the Friday night.
You mean our theme song people?
Pop Noir. Pop Noir. Now, I'm not sure if anything else is going on, but on the Saturday, it's back at Ruskin's for after hours. To celebrate Tom of Finland's life and work, Ruskin's hosts a special night featuring leather, partying, and noir leather, like our All-Star Band. Ooh. Now, what is this?
I don't know.
Well, Noir Leather is a one-off featuring Joe McGarry, Luke McGarry of
Pop Noir,
and Charlie Adlard.
Oh, hello. Hello.
So this is a first ever all-star band of these three, because obviously Charlie's got his own band as well.
Yes.
We're playing on the evening of the 12th at the Ruskin's Bar, and then we'll continue with bit of disco, and there's also the pub itself is going to be themed around Tom, so let's go camping. So there'll be some naughty stuff on there as well.
Oh, yes.
So they're the plans so far for the evenings. There's also things going on at the cinema and so forth, but we'll discuss and go on from there once we know more. So yeah, so if you want yourself a bit of music,
absolutely,
go and get yourself a drinky.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, the Viz evening is definitely something.
Oh, we've got to go to that.
Well, we are going to that.
We are going.
We will be there.
We will be there.
Okay, so next episode we have Lucy Sullivan, who we've already chatted to.
It's like happened already.
She's lovely and
she's really lovely.
Really interesting chat. And Rob Davis will be hopefully the episode after that. And then
I'm so excited for that one.
I've got some ideas.
Oh no!
And I'm not going to talk about them just now. But
if I can get, you're like Baldrick with a cunning plan.
There's a set of guests. If I can get these people,
there's more than one.
Yes, on the show, then it's going to be the most interesting show we've ever done.
Okay.
And I've only just come out with this idea the past few hours.
Oh, brilliant.
And I've tried to put it into motion.
Already? Oh, the things you do without telling me. Okay.
You don't need to know.
No, obviously not.
Just go along with it. So we've got some good stuff coming up, and obviously the festival itself is flying towards us. There is 4 or 5 episodes left? There's
Oh,
not many.
don't say that. Does that mean I can put my Christmas decorations up?
After the festival, within weeks later, yes, like
Oh.
a month.
I thought I was in there. It's like, yes, up for Halloween.
Can we shout out to Sean Phillips?
Always
Jacob
shout
Phillips,
out to Sean.
for winning the Eisner Award.
Eisner Awards, yes.
For all my friends of junkies. I can't remember, that's the name of the book. The one we've read.
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations. It's Sean, he seems to always miss it every year. So congratulations to them guys.
Yeah.
See, Sean, it's when Jacob comes along. That's what it is. But no, well done to them. Well deserved.
Oh, absolutely.
For the work that those guys do. And Ed Brubaker, he's only the writer.
Oh,
he's only the writer.
He's not needed.
So,
It's
yeah.
fine.
Well done to them. Absolutely brilliant work. Right. Shall we head off then?
To the sunset on horseback. Have you got your harmonica? Could you play it? Sand in your harmonica, love.
That's something. Thank you very much for listening, and we will be back on the 15th of August.
Oh, see you then.
Oh, I'm going back Pete's work.
Oh, yes, definitely going back a
Silverbeard, taking over the podcast again. Back my book or I'll kick your backside.
What accent was that?
I don't know, he comes from all over the world, he changes it all the time. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Find out more about the festival at comicartfestival.com. Find out more about the show and how to contact us at comicartpodcast.uk. Find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Music composed by Pop Noir.
This podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.